And recording on.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Sukant Khurana, and with me is Ramesh Gauri Raghavan. Uh, Today, two of us will discuss how listening devices can inform supply chain, and especially how can we deal in this time of crisis and build better supply chain for North America. And we are focusing both on US and Canada, which need to rebuild in a post COVID 19 world. And as they're gradually opening up, we want to explore a major issue. So, Ramesh is an old scientist friend of mine who became a top advertising professional. We have done a lot of things together. And the reason for both of us to sort of discuss this issue together is fundamentally that um, in advertising world, in both advertising and marketing, people use what are called listening tools a lot. They use it to get a sense of where market is going, what people are saying about a particular brand. The thing is, one can look at what information is there in public domain and make use of it. But in reality, what has happened is the in-depth analysis is possible because markets haven't really required it. These things haven't been put to use so much as they can for supply chains and for panic relief or to figure out how people are spreading even fake news. And that's what we are going to discuss in this series of podcasts. What do you say, Ramesh?
Sure. So we'll begin with the first question as to what really are listening tools. So
Yeah.
in the social media marketing business, there has long been this need, and these tools have been around for now 2 decades. Uh,
Ramesh, speak a bit louder, please.
yeah. So these tools have been around for over 2 decades right now, and they have improved with every year. What these tools do is listen to what chatter is going on in social media. So, by social media, I mean social media has gone through multiple evolutions. It started with social media like Orkut and MySpace, and then you saw the rise of Facebook and Twitter, and now you see Instagram and WhatsApp being the top social media. And since 2019, there is this very viral social media coming out of China called TikTok, which has now uh, nearly more than a billion subscribers. So social media keeps evolving, and what happens is the one thing that is constant is the amount of chatter that goes on. Now, brands have realized that a lot of chatter on social media is about brands and their products. So people use, for example, Twitter to complain a lot about brands. Uh, People complain all the time, of course.
Yeah,
That's people. But
yeah. I
brands
use
have
Twitter
need
a lot for that. That's why I was smiling.
Yeah, so brands have realized that if you can address these complaints in time, the brand can actually change its image and actually have a more positive image on social media. So a number of corporate social tools have existed and keep improving. So Hootsuite is one of the most popular. Then there is TweetDeck, and there are a whole lot more. uh, what has been happening is brands have to negotiate 3 levels of privacy. So, media like Twitter and Instagram have the least levels of privacy. Where the moment you sign on to these platforms, you have basically signed a contract that says uh, that all that you say will be treated as public information. So unless you have actually set your Twitter or Instagram settings to private, everything
Mhm.
that you tweet or gram is out there in public. Anyone can read it. And in fact, these media are designed for you to make public statements, and that's why hashtags are very popular, so that
Yeah.
your tweet or Instagram is actually searchable by hashtag.
Mhm.
Then there are semi-private media like Facebook, where you have a wall and friends, and
Mhm.
whatever you say is supposedly restricted to friends. Although different posts can have different privacy settings. So you may,
Mhm.
for example, set a few posts to totally
Mhm.
public. And many brands have pages which are set to public so that lots of people can come and read what the brand is talking about. And then you
Mhm.
finally have these completely private
Mhm.
channels such as WhatsApp, which is end to
Yeah.
end encrypted. And therefore, listening to any WhatsApp conversation is technically
Mhm.
illegal. Okay.
Yeah.
But now, with the basis of these, and in any case, if somebody is complaining about your brand on WhatsApp, it's only between that person and his listener. So your brand doesn't have to care. It's only when they're complaining about your brand on Twitter or on Instagram
Mhm.
that you start worrying about your reputation. And when they come to your brand's page on Facebook and complain there, then you need to worry. So social listening tools are geared towards these media. They operate on two bases. One is on the basis of keyword searches. So you can fit keywords. So if you are Pepsi or you are Nike, you would give your own brand names as keywords, and you would
Mhm.
monitor social media according to mentions of these words. Or you
Mhm.
would search by hashtag, which is
Mhm.
basically another form of keyword searching. This
So, can
was the
you,
yes.
yeah, Ramesh. So, can you tell me what's the difference between having a regular tweet versus a tweet having a hashtag? How does hashtag make any difference in terms of searchability?
So hashtags are used in order to a hashtag is literally a tag, right? And therefore, when you use a hashtag, you're signaling that you want your tweet or your Instagram to be
Mm-hmm.
found when somebody searches under this hashtag. That is why hashtags are clickable. If you click a
Yeah,
hashtag, you will immediately see all the tweets and grams that come under that hashtag. If you do not use
absolutely.
any hashtags, then your tweet is effectively uh, a dumb tweet. I mean, apart from your immediate followers, your tweet can't be found through a hashtag search. Although, if
Can't be
some,
found through a hashtag search, but it'll still be found through a keyword.
it can be found
Uh,
through a keyword search. So, listening tools need to build both these functionalities in. Apart
yeah.
from that, people are also not uh, entirely straightforward. They often use cryptic messages, and this is particularly true of Sina Weibo, for example. Not so much in open platforms like Twitter, but in
Yeah.
Weibo, in Chi and other, especially Chinese language platforms, where China's censorship is heavy,
Yeah.
or in
More
Arab
strict.
countries where there is a lot of censorship.
Mm-hmm.
People use cryptic language, and therefore, social listening tools then have to learn to decipher this cryptic language. So, a certain amount of semantic processing, natural language processing, what do you call that? Sentiment processing, that is also deployed nowadays. So,
Yeah, it will be still very challenging with the cryptic stuff. Uh, Sarcasm is very difficult to detect unless you're a human.
correct. So in Sina Weibo, for example, given the nature of the Chinese language, people use puns a great deal. So if
Mm-hmm.
even if the government censors a certain word, you can get away with similar sounding puns,
Mm-hmm.
and that's so in China it's always a cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
The same thing with Arabic language uh, things in Russia, in several countries where there is restricted freedom of expression. Social media has often found workarounds. Luckily for us, in English speaking countries, in countries like India, in most of Latin America, this kind of attitude is not persistent, and therefore most tweets are easily searchable, and you don't have to use extra levels of intelligence. At the same time,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, at the same time, now a keyword search will only throw up tweets that mention you. They do not throw up whether that tweet is positive or negative.
Hmm.
And companies have found it through very embarrassing means. So in the early stages, for example, uh, one of the most telling stories was with McDonald's in the 2010s. They issued this hashtag called MacD Stories, and they wanted their customers to tweet with that hashtag.
Yeah.
Now, in social media parlance, this became a bash tag. Now, this is a very open-ended hashtag. And therefore, customers started posting horror stories of their experience at McDonald's. Things were found in their burgers were cold, their burgers were over hot, they spilled hot coffee on themselves, and therefore their nightmares they started expressing, and McDonald's became very, very embarrassed.
Yeah.
So again, the use of a hashtag has to be very careful, and social listening also has to be able to tell you whether the hashtag is being used positively or being turned around and being used against you. So since then, sentiment analysis became an important tool. There is
Yeah.
still a long way to go for sentiment analysis. Right now, it works on the basis of you decide by certain keywords. So you create a list of keywords that says, if these words are present, it is positive sentiment. If these words are present, it is neutral sentiment. And if these words are present, it is negative sentiment.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as Sukant said, uh, when you are being sarcastic, you will use a positive sounding word to actually mean a negative thing. So sentiment analysis still has a long way to go.
Yeah. So there is sentiment analysis, there is stance analysis, there is semantic analysis, and a lot of approaches currently being used commercially. They go about with just the AI approaches, but actually one can even build hybrid tools, something that I have always been professing to do because at times rule-based approaches can be much easier and at times AI can be useful. So we'll get into those technical details later. But that's really a nice summary, Ramesh, that of how what kind of media are there and how people express themselves and how they express themselves differently in countries with censorship versus in freer countries of Latin America and some of South Asia, they express differently. And in really free countries of Europe or in North America, especially in US and Canada, you see people not holding back any punches. Whatever they have to say, they say it. And in some ways, it's a great job, a great tool for us because essentially, if we are trying to fix issues of manufacturing, supply chain, in a post COVID 19 world, it's still not post COVID 19. We are still in the right smack in the middle of this whole crisis. If we are trying to fix issues of figuring out how people are spreading news, which is correct news, how there is fake news, how there is panic, what kind of supplies are in shortage, right? What issues are there with the supply chain, and trying to find a fix for it. Given the fact that in US and Canada, people don't hold back, they express themselves freely. It's a great tool to be able to listen to public chatter. So I think we'll wrap up this episode, the first episode, by saying social media can be listened to. And let's talk about other media also. Let's continue on this conversation in next episode. Okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sukant.
Thanks, Ramesh.